Alright, welcome back to the Mental Health Toolbox. In this episode, I will be walking you through my YouTube and podcast workflow. So let's go. Hi, if you're just meeting me for the first time, my name is Patrick Martin, and I'm a mental health professional on a mission to help raise mental health awareness so you can feel better on the inside and out and level up your quality of life. So let's do it. All right, so welcome back to the Mental Health Toolbox. My name is Patrick Martin, your host, and today I'm answering a question on my workflow for repurposing video content for podcasting. And so I've been getting a lot of questions on that through my peers in the Video Ranking Academy private group, Facebook group. So I thought I would take some time today and chat with Mira. I keep slaughtering your name.
You totally got it, Mira.
Mira, all right, like miraculous, right?
Yep, that's me.
Super. So I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share today and kind of walk you through my recent process of how I go about creating YouTube content and then repurposing it for the podcast and my blog to get time back. Because if you're an entrepreneur, if there's anything you know, it's getting time back is always the game. All right. So we can invest time in other things and quality time with our families. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the screen share and we'll get going. And Mira, if you have any questions during the process, this isn't formal, so feel free to just, interrupt me if there's any questions you have.
Great.
Okay, very informal.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Did you start with the videos or just start with the podcast first?
I started with the podcast, and that led to, well, actually, I technically started with the blog, and then that led to the podcast, and then the podcast and the blog became, I used to read from my blog scripts, like my blog posts. And so after I had about 12 blog posts up and running with a series I was doing on cognitive behavioral therapy, I was just reading from my blogs and narrating them, and that was my podcast for the first 12 episodes or so. But then as I got into YouTube, I started realizing that I was working a whole lot harder trying to create a blog and then reading from it, and then it sounded a little mechanical. So then what I decided to start doing is, as you can see on the screen here, is I just use Google Keep Notes as a way to do some talking points, and then I'll talk through it and then extract the audio, put that into the podcast, and then take a transcription from that and turn it into the blog. So that's what I'm going to cover today.
Oh, very neat.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is a perfect, it's just I haven't had much hand holding with this at all. So I'm just kind of showing you how I've fumbled into this process and how I make it work. Okay. So the first thing you want to consider when it comes to repurposing your content or creating content in general is the content type. So when it comes to YouTube especially and podcasting, you have two options really. There's the interview and then there's solo, right? So I started off doing a lot of solo work. And so if you're going to do solo work, then you have a little more wiggle room in terms of the editing and all that. But if you're going to do an interview kind of like this, then you can expect that you're going to be editing less in terms of the conversation, because that would just be a lot of work. But also things like consent forms. When I'm doing a podcast interview or a video interview, I will usually email a consent form. And then I will also email kind of a template of the questions I generally ask as a framework.
I like that.
Yeah, I like to prepare the other person. I know everybody's different. Some people like to just complete blank slate and be the curious person. Pat Flynn's very much that way. But I do like to start off with some general questions if the other person wants. Sometimes that helps the interviewee feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So they don't have to answer everything. It's just in case fallback questions. Okay. So as you can see here, the first thing to consider is if it's an interview, make sure you have that consent form. I know a lot of people don't, but it's generally a good idea if you're going to be doing a lot of interviews just for safety's sake.
And what is it that you're saying makes it more difficult to edit an interview as opposed to if it's just you talking?
Well, I think if you have full control of the content and the dialogue, it's easier to go back and slice stuff out. But for example, if I accidentally slice something out that you said in response to or a question that I had, it won't be very sequitur.
Right.
It can end up being very non sequitur if you're not careful.
I see.
And so I know a lot of people edit, spend a lot of time editing out all the ums, hums,
Right.
But I'm a realist, and as a therapist, I'm like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's part of your personality. So I don't, unless it's, cursing or a major thing somebody wants cut out, I don't usually hassle with that.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. So the next thing to consider, of course, is keyword research. I know that term gets thrown around a lot for search engine optimization, how you get found. Now, I could talk a lot about that, but because we're both part of the Video Ranking Academy, I'll keep that a little hush hush for Sean Cannel's sake and not give away his golden nuggets. But there are a lot of tools out there for keyword research, and that is usually a good idea to do before you jump into just recording a video, just to make sure it's a viable topic. Or sometimes if I know I'm going to be interviewing somebody on a particular topic, like I just did one on grief and loss with a grief and loss specialist. I knew that, but I wasn't sure if grief and loss would be the best title or if there was another term that has more traffic. And so sure enough, I found out that grief and loss has 1,000 to maybe 10,000 searches a month, but bereavement has up to 1 million. So
wow.
Just trading out one word or putting bereavement as the first part is a big deal, All right. So the next thing to consider is, of course, after you've got your title straightened out, is your talking points. So as you can see here, I'm using Google Keep Notes. It's that little light bulb that you'll find in your Google Apps drawer. I also have it on my phone. They sync, which is great, and it's free, which is even better. But I use Google Keep Notes for just about everything to organize my thoughts, notes on different subjects. And so I have an entire label dedicated to YouTube. And what I'll do is I'll just put the title as the title of the note, and then I'll put the talking points. And then I can also, as I'm making the video, throw on things like timestamps while I'm editing. So I'll just type in the timestamps of the video. And then I will also, if I'm using any music from like Epidemic Sounds, then I'll be sure that I write down which ones I'm using for the credits, right? And that kind of thing. So it's kind of nice.
I've never used this before. Keep Notes. Is that better than just normal notes in like a Mac computer?
Well, I'm a Mac fan, but I've used everything from Evernote to Wunderlist to Mac Notes, Apple Notes to Sticky Notes. And I've just found that this is my favorite platform for organizing all of my thoughts. It's seamless, it's easy. You can export it into a Google Doc if you want. You can turn anything into a checklist, anything at the click of a button right here. You can just say show checkboxes, and you can turn it into a checklist. You can print it out. You can copy it to Google Docs. You can label things. And if you see on the left here, I have all of these labels.
That looks
have multiple labels.
Extremely helpful.
Exactly.
To organize them.
Color coordinate. So yeah, it really helps me keep my stuff together, because if you're into content creation, it's really, really easy to get overwhelmed with all of the processes and things to remember. And what did I do for this video? Or what's my workflow? Or what was that resource I wanted to remember? And so I'll have resources for separate things like course creation, for my blog, for my podcast, and things like the description. Like if I'm using a lot of the same descriptions and affiliate links, then I have that already in here. And so I can just copy and paste it into the YouTube description, and it's ready to go. And so those things save a whole lot of time.
Great. Is this a free program?
Absolutely. Yeah, Google's great that way. Yeah, it's absolutely free.
Wonderful.
You can also drop links, pictures, even audio in here, I think. But I primarily use it just for text.
This is so much better than my Mac Notes that I've been using.
It is. I used to be a huge advocate of Apple Notes, and then I started using this when I had switched from an iPhone back in the day to an Android. Now I'm back to iPhone for the last several years, but I still just love Google Keep. It's great.
Great.
If you're gonna use it on your phone, you have to download the app. But if you're gonna use it on your desktop, what I do is I just pin it to my bar here. But if you open up a new browser window tab, right by your icon, there's that little waffle drawer of apps. You just scroll down to the light bulb, and it's right. Yeah.
Great.
All right. So this is a huge part of my workflow is Google Keep Notes. I know there's more fancy programs too, like Monday and Asana, but that's more for like when you're working with other people and sharing information and then assigning tasks. If you're just doing it solo like me, then this is fine. Okay, so as far as other considerations as you're getting into your video creation, of course, what camera you're using, your lighting, and your audio setup. Like right now, I'm using my external microphone. It's the Shure SM7B, and I have it hooked up to a Scarlett interface with a cloud lifter mic amp. But you could just use your built-in microphone. I also have the Rode Video Mic Pro NTG that goes on top of the camera, but I feel like this gives better quality. I have kids, and so it blocks out a lot of the background sound, the fan that's going right now. I don't have to wear headphones. You notice I'm not wearing headphones. That's because there's no feedback because I'm using a mic that blocks out the ambient sound.
Nice.
And so I can just listen to you through my monitor speakers without having to hassle with headphones, which is nice.
Looks like you have some nice eye lighting too. Is that on purpose?
In the background?
No, like you have a nice eye light in your eye. You have some.
Oh yes, that's my I use a Neewer ring light with a dimmable light. So yeah, I use that and I put it up nice and high where it shines down, more natural lighting. And then I have a desk lamp to my right for warmer light. And so I use those too. Thank you for noticing that. That's always a challenge with videos, getting the lighting right. And you can even see like it's cloudy today in Southern California, and so the light's kind of coming and going a bit through the window. So those are definite things you want to consider. And if you're going to use webcam, I also have a Logic 29 Logitech HD webcam. And there's an app called Webcam Settings that allows you to dial in like the white balance and stuff like that. So you always want to consider what camera and audio you're going to use. And I'll talk more about that. For a Zoom interview recording like this, you don't need to worry so much. It's not that complex with the audio because it captures it all together. But when I'm doing like a solo video, I do record the audio separate from the video and then I sync and post, which I used to think in the early days was very complicated and it scared me. But now I realize it's actually just part of the workflow and takes about 5 seconds. It's not that big deal. So I'll show you how to do that.
What do you do though with like your interview subject if they don't have such nice equipment? Specifically with audio, because that
my experience, and this is what I've heard from other professionals too, like Pat Flynn on podcasting. Nobody really notices or cares so much about the guest's audio as long as they're, coherent. It's more of the concern with the host, right? So the burden is on the host to have clear, make sure they do a clear audio because that's expected. I can see that my mic is peaking at just a little bit on the Scarlett, so I'm going to turn that down. Okay. I never know because one program records audio a little bit different than another. Like if I'm recording in Garageband, it's very clear and the audio picks up very well. On Zoom, I've noticed with the recordings, the decibels are a little bit lower in the replay. So those are things to pay attention to as well. Yeah. It's always easier to bump it up in post than bump it down.
That's very true.
Yeah. All right. So as far as the audio, when I'm doing a video solo, and also when it comes to the podcasting, I use GarageBand. So if you want, I can show you a little bit about that process. I use 2 templates. So let me pull up GarageBand for you so I can show you what I'm talking about.
Great.
And this is a Mac thing. I know if you don't have a Mac, if you have a PC, there's like Audacity you can use, or OBS or something like that, which I'm not familiar with. But yeah, go and open up GarageBand. There we go. Can you see the GarageBand?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So if I go to File, and I'll just say Open Recent here. So template 2, this is what I use for my podcasting. So what I have here is my intro that I got off of Fiverr from a really good voice guy, pretty cheap. And then he also did an outro for me. And so I just have these on here, and this down here, these are my presets that I've dialed in that I like for my podcasting. And so I think it'll be okay if you just do whatever the default is, but this is the presets that I like to use, and that's why I have it on the template.
Okay.
But this comes after the YouTube video though. So the first thing we want to use is an audio only template. Oh, and so I have to, you can see the feedback. Let me turn that off. Okay. And so when I'm recording a video solo and the audio is separate from the camera, what I'll do then is I'll do that traditional 3 claps. And then what that does is that will make it easier for the software, the editing software, to sync the audio with the video. And so it's
You
really,
do like an automatic sync in the software?
I do. I use Final Cut Pro, and there's a 1-button click to auto sync. And what it does is it deletes the audio from the video, the original video, like, because the camera will still pick up some audio, right? But what it'll do is it'll delete the audio from the camera feed, and it'll just tie in the external audio. And so it's seamless and beautiful. I love it.
I have not figured out how to do that yet, but yes, that sounds
Now,
great.
every program is a little bit different, but that's really important that anytime you're recording that you clap 3 times so that it knows what to look for, those peaks. And always start, I'll suggest always start recording the audio before you hit record on the camera. And remember that most cameras, when it comes to video, only have about, at least Canons, only have a 30-minute limit. So keep an eye on that when you're recording, because you'll probably have to do it a couple of times if it's a lengthy video. But I leave the same audio rolling. I don't put a separate audio file. If I start and stop recording, I just clap again. Makes sense when I start recording again, and then the program will figure it out. I haven't had any issue with that. And that's easier when you're in the edit and you're trying to figure out your timeline and dropping stuff in, to have one audio and then just cut it where you don't need it. I'll show you what that looks like. So I start with this. This is the audio I use for my solo videos. And then once this is done, I will share it and I'll export it to disk as an MP3. And then what I'll do is I will then drop that into my folder. And so let's talk about that for a second. Can you see my desktop?
Yes.
Okay, so this is my external hard drive. I do recommend that you have a solid state external hard drive to store all of your videos stuff, so it doesn't, I mean, my computer's older, but I'm waiting for the new MacBook Pro to come out. Still running a 2015 MacBook Air, and I'm surprised it can handle everything I throw at it for the most part. And so this is, I have a folder just for YouTube content, and within here I have the different videos I work on. And so in the interviews, for example, I would have one for each person that I do an interview with, or like today. Right. And then inside of that folder, I would have things like my B-roll. This is where I would drop the audio only. See this right here? It's audio only. This is going to be the audio for the video. Like, this is a Zoom recording right here. This is going to be the audio for this video. And when I, inside of Final Cut Pro, I'm going to sync these two. Okay. And then once you export everything, it'll be seamless. All right. So it's really important. Any kind of B-roll, audio, video, I drop into one folder, so it's easier to find once you're in the recording phase. Okay.
Great.
All right. Any questions so far?
No, I think I'm following.
Cool. Yeah, I know it's a lot. It's a lot for me to remember too. I'm glad I typed this out today. It'll help me. All right. Okay. So basically I have 2 templates in GarageBand. One is the audio only to sync with the video. And then the podcast template is what I'm going to use after I export the audio from the final video to repurpose it. And I drop that back into the podcast. Okay.
Wait, can you say that again?
Sure. So the audio only template is what I use to sync with the video in post. And after I'm done with editing and exporting my video, I'll go back and export audio only. And then I'll take that MP3 file and I'll drop that back into this template for podcasts on my GarageBand. And then I'll export that again as a solid MP3, and that will be my podcast. And the reason I do it that way is because I have the intro and outro for my podcast to give it a little bit of a different feel. And so it's just a little bit nicer, and I can cut out other things like the music, stuff that's just not very applicable. Sometimes like my end cards and all that stuff that's just not going to flow very well in a podcast kind of environment. Okay. All right, so I just talked about organizing folders in your external hard drive. I think that's really going to save you a lot of pain. And I use Final Cut Pro X. I started learning that when I got into YouTube recently. Before I was using ScreenFlow, which was okay, but it had a lot of hiccups and it couldn't do a whole lot of in terms of production value with it. So it did okay for a while for a lot of my tutorials and stuff. But Final Cut Pro is what I use now. I've learned to love it. I know a lot of people are Adobe fans and they use the whole Adobe suite. I have not had any experience with Photoshop or the Adobe suite or for editing and that kind of thing. So to each their own, but for simplicity, I use Final Cut Pro. It's designed for Mac and I run off a Mac. So the rendering and stuff is just more smooth than I think it would be otherwise. Okay, so shared assets. If you're using Final Cut Pro, I strongly recommend you have a library called Shared Assets. And hopefully if I pull this up, it's not going to crush Zoom because it's a editing program. Could slow things down a bit. So I'll pull this up so you can see what I'm talking about. Just kind of waiting for that.
When you said like your podcast doesn't have any visuals with it, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
But when the reason I put it into a whole different GarageBand template is because I need to cut out all of the superfluous stuff and that would be in the video, like the end cards, the music, that kind of stuff that wouldn't really flow inside of the podcast as well. That would just be kind of a nuisance. All right, so can you see my Final Cut Pro here?
Yes.
All right, cool. Sorry, the computer's mad at me for jumping around. There we go. All right, I'll just maximize this real quick. So, okay, I'll close GarageBand. It keeps wanting to override here. Okay, there we go. Can hear my computer fan, it's mad at me. All right, so I already cut out the music from this one because I already exported it and posted it this morning to my podcast. But you'll see up here, there's a folder called Shared Assets that's highlighted. I should say a library. This is where a lot of the stuff I reuse, like compound clips for like my name and social handles that pop up over the screen, music that I repurpose, my intro, outro, all in one place. I don't have to, every time I create a video, I don't have to go in and drop it in, every time and have copies of copies saved to my computer. It's just the one.
That is very nice.
So that saves some time. But when it comes to exporting, once the video is all done, I just export this to, so I was thinking, let's see. Okay. I would export it to YouTube or Facebook for that kind of platform. And then once that's exported, I would make sure it goes into that same external hard drive folder. And then when I'm doing the audio only, I'll go in and I'll delete, like I said, all the superfluous stuff. And then I'll just export a master file and I'll show you what that looks like. That's lossless audio. And that's what you're looking for in Final Cut Pro is the lossless audio export feature. And then that'll drop it into I'll just drop that into my desktop as an MP3. Yeah, my computer's yelling at me. Okay. And when you go to settings, you'll see where it says audio only here. And then music default, and then you'll just export it there and tell it where you want it to go. And that only takes literally like 20 seconds. It's pretty fast just to export the audio. Okay. And then what I was saying before, like when I originally drop in my video and audio here, for example, in here, this is the folder for the grief and loss interview I just did. What you'll just do is you just click on the video file and then hold Control and then click on the audio file, and then there'll be an option at the top to sync audio. synchronize audio, or I think if you just right click, see this file right here, that's the project, but you see this little paperclip looking thing here?
Mm-hmm.
You can see that. That means it's a synchronized file. That's the one I
Mm-hmm.
synchronized. You see in my file here that says audio only?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I synced with the video. And if I scroll down, you'll just see where I put the initial video. And so so if I took like this one, for example, I would hold control and then I would click on this, and then they'd both be highlighted. And then I would right click and say synchronize audio. And if it has a hard time, see how they're both highlighted? If it has a hard, oh, sorry, it's because it's got a delay. If it has a hard time, then you know something's wrong. It shouldn't take that long to synchronize the audio in Final Cut Pro. Okay. All right.
I work in DaVinci Resolve.
Oh yeah, I know that's a popular one. Okay, there we go. I think I was just catching up. There we go. So you see where it says synchronize clips?
Mm-hmm.
That's all you have to do. It's going to look for those 3 claps and it's just going to sew them together. And then if there's anything before the claps, you just take out your blade and you cut it. That's it.
Nice.
All right.
So you just, the Zoom interview just automatically switches the camera. You just have it on speaker mode. Is that how you do it? And
exactly. Yeah. So the Zoom when you're doing Zoom interviews, it's pretty easy that way.
mm-hmm.
And I bet the recording right now is very laggy because I have Final Cut Pro.
Right.
So I'm sure it's going to be bad quality on my end. That's okay.
We're mainly looking at the screens.
Yeah. That's true. It'll be over. Yeah.
It's
Can't
fine.
even see me, so that's fine. All right. So that's that piece. So once you have that audio exported, you'll drop it back into the podcast template and then export that MP3, and then that would be your podcast file, right?
Cool.
That sounds like a lot, but once you get in the habit, it takes like 10 minutes. It's not that bad.
Very neat.
All right. And so once you have those things going, you're halfway home. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing, like I subscribe to Epidemic Sounds just to get like, I don't know, a good 10 or 20 songs to play around with. But then you can cancel your membership anytime. So I suggest you sign up, make a good playlist that you think you'll repurpose different songs for intros, outros, and then you can always cancel. Okay.
Oh, so is it like a free trial?
They have like a free trial for I think a month or a week, and then you can just download as many songs as you want, and you have rights for like your podcast and your YouTube channel.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that's what I use. That was recommended by Sean Cannel during the Grow with Video Live challenge. So that's when I jumped on that wagon. I haven't canceled yet because I keep finding new stuff I like, but it's not that expensive. I think it's like $10 or something a month. All right, so we talked about exporting video, exporting audio from the editor program. The next thing to consider would be your thumbnail.
Mm-hmm.
And, Pixabay.
Never tried that one.
Yeah, so I love Canva. Canva is where I do all of my YouTube artwork, thumbnails, even for my blog, like blog posts and stuff. Before I started getting into YouTube, I just absolutely love Canva. And then Pixabay is a website where there's copyright-free images, because if you don't want to use just any old picture off of Google, because you'll get your hands slapped. So you want to make sure it's copyright free, and Pixabay is a wonderful place to find all kinds of great free pictures. And the nice thing about Canva is you can have multiple pictures and just kind of drop them in and then rearrange them however you want to make a nice looking thumbnail. And if you like, I can show you kind of what that looks like on my end.
Sure. I've also been using something called like Snap. I think it's Snap Banner.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a different version of Canva that has also been helpful.
Very cool. So I'll show you what Pixabay looks like. Pixabay. So this is Pixabay. So whatever you're looking for, you can just find a picture. It's just the ones at the top are sponsored by Shutterstock, so you can't have those. But if I like I just do it on grief, I just put grief. And if this is, most of them are going to be vertical, and you can specify the orientation though. If it's something for like Instagram or something else, you can look for vertical pictures. And so this is the one I used today. So I grabbed this, and then I downloaded that, and then I jumped over to Canva. Oh, it's right here on my home screen. Okay. And then on Canva, you'll just go up here to where it says create design. And then you just type in YouTube, and you'll get a thumbnail option here. Thumbnail right here. Super easy. And then once you do that, then it keeps the library of all of the pictures you've uploaded. But then if you, whatever you just snagged from Pixabay, you would just go to uploads and then add another one right here. See, there's that one I did earlier this morning. So then you would just drop that. If you click on it, it'll drop it, you can expand it and then drop in other pictures and so forth. And there's text and elements and other things you can play with. Most of it's free. If you, one of my favorite features of this is the ability to remove the background on stuff. So if you have a picture of yourself and you want to wipe the background and put yourself over just like a plain white background or something like that, it's really, really helpful. And all you have to do is click on it and say remove background, and poof.
Can you show that quickly how you do that?
Sure, absolutely. So let's take, for example, let's try this, for example. Okay, so I have him right here. So let's just say I blow this up like this. If I want it to be full screen, I can do that. And then you go to effects right here. And you're just going to go to background remover. Watch what it does. It's going to turn the blue to white. It's just going to remove it entirely. This works with your pictures of yourself. This is what I use for a lot of my YouTube thumbnails. Is I just have a plain one of mine that I repurpose over and over. And I just add stuff to the white part of the screen.
That's very useful.
Yeah.
To know.
Poof, there. You see it?
Oh, yeah.
Now it just kind of pops, right? I know you can do stuff like that with Photoshop and stuff too, but Canva makes it way easier.
It definitely does. That's a great feature.
It is. So I love that about Canva. So then once you have that, you can just download it as a PDF, and then that will be that'll live in your YouTube thumbnails. See, here's a lot of YouTube thumbnails I did using that same thing. See, I use the same background a lot of times, and I just add this other elements to it. So you don't have to. A lot of people worry about having to have a perfect background or a white background or a green screen. Not anymore. Not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Very neat.
Yeah. All right. So that's the thumbnail. The next thing on the list would be importing audio to Garageband. We talked about that. Then MP3. Okay. So when it comes to podcasting, you need a host like anything else, right?
Right.
You have your options. I personally like to use Libsyn. That was because I did a lot of research on the front end. That's what Pat Flynn recommended. So that's what I use.
Okay. Libsyn. Good to know.
Right? I'll show you what Libsyn looks like if you want to see the back end of it.
I would love to.
Sorry, I'm waiting for this thing to disappear.
Is there anything to be said about like the audience reach with podcasts versus YouTube? Or
sure, they're all different. Of course, they're different search engines.
Like, are podcasts actually, do people really listen to podcasts?
Oh, I'm a podcast addict. Yeah, it's a different crowd oftentimes. Like I live and breathe podcasts because I can always have my AirPods in. I can be doing the laundry. I can be going for a walk. I can be bathing the dog. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
I can still be absorbing information. I can be doing other tasks that don't require my full attention, and just keep learning and learning and learning. It's great. You know, can't really do that with a video unless I think you subscribe to like YouTube Red, whatever that is, that allows you to listen without the screen on. Plus, podcasts take a lot less phone battery. than video.
Yes. I used to listen to YouTube videos like podcasts. I used to be a podcast listener, and then when I got into YouTube, I started listening to like hour-long talks on YouTube, and it kind of replaced that for me. But then I guess because of the amount of data it uses for most people, that's not necessarily the best.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I still do that too. I have to be careful not to bump the screen because there's stuff on YouTube you can't find on podcasts and vice versa. But podcasts are designed more for like length, usually 45 minutes to an hour, whereas YouTube videos tend to be short, sweet, and to the point.
Yes.
Unless it's something like this where I'm doing a walkthrough. Okay. So this is my Libsyn backend, mental health toolbox. And so whenever you're going to post a new video, you'll see right here what says 95 megabytes used of 154.
Okay.
So you have to do the math, but basically that's 3 or 4 episodes a month.
Okay. Sounds
if you want more, you pay more.
Enough work for
not much. It's like, I think $12 a month. It's not bad.
Wonderful.
Not bad. And the nice thing about using with podcasts is you only have to have a host and it pushes it everywhere else for you through an RSS feed. And so,
oh, really?
Yeah, Libsyn is already connected to Spotify, but once you have your RSS feed, you just jump in here to destinations, get your
RSS. What was that?
RSS feed right here. The Libsyn Classic feed under destinations. You would just take this and then drop it in to Apple when you're setting up like an iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcasts. When you go to their website to apply, all they're asking for is this link. That's it.
Okay, so you do need to apply to all these places.
It's super quick though. I think I did all of them in one night. It's not bad.
Great. How do we find like a list of all those places we'd want to apply our podcast to?
If you want, you could just jump over to my website on my podcast page. I have all the buttons listed at the bottom there, and those are the main platforms, like iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, Google, and now there's a new one called Verbal that just rolled out, VURBL. But if you can just Google like apply to Apple Podcasts, apply to iHeartRadio podcasts, and they'll just follow the Google links. It'll take you there. But if you're just wondering which platforms are available, I have most of them listed right there on my.
What is the name of your website?
It's the mentalhealthtoolbox.com.
Nice name.
Thank you. I'm surprised I was able to snag that originally.
Yeah, lucky you. That's
I'm like, what? This isn't taken?
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
And so then when you apply to all of those different sites, then when you make a podcast and you put it up on this hosting site, does it send it out to all those different platforms?
Exactly. So all the platforms do are pull from your host here. It's automatic.
That's
great. First thing, you have to set up your host first, and then you'll get your RSS link, and that's the link you'll use to apply to different podcasts.
So exciting.
Yes. And when you do first start a podcast, you're going to have to create like a, here, this is my podcast. Oh,
okay.
On my website. Let me go to podcast here. It's going to ask for you to create an image for your podcast. It's my battle station.
Nice.
All right, so you'll see what I'm talking about here. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Oh, TuneIn is a big one. iHeartRadio, and then I don't have Spotify listed here, but that's a big one. But that's automatic with Libsyn. They just push it.
Okay, so that's the image that shows up when people click on to listen to your podcast.
Right, because everybody has a different means. If they don't have an iPhone, they're not going to be on Apple. Yeah, they might be on Google, or they might be iHeartRadio or something like that. So it's good to be it's good to be everywhere. It's not that much work.
Yeah.
But if I click on this, for example, let me show you. You have to create a cover image for your, right? See this right here? This is my cover image. You have to create that in Canva, and there's certain dimensions for the rules, or Apple will reject you.
Okay.
So on Canva, all you have to do is take your image and then just set the dimensions in Canva, and then boom, you're done.
Yeah. Do you have any advice on building how to build like a intro and outro?
I just went to Fiverr, and for a podcast intro outro, there's tons of voice experts that do that for you. And you just tell them what kind of music you want. I just ask for some light guitar, and then the voiceover and the script, and that's that. They do it for you.
Fiverr.
Fiverr, Fivrr, super cheap. Like
FIB.
$5 and up. I think I tipped them. It was like $20 for each, so it's like $40. It's forever. So,
Great.
you know, cost of a pizza or two.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So once you're in Libsyn here, when you have that MP3 that you exported from GarageBand or whatever that you're going to use, you go up to content and you add new episode. And this is where you would drop your audio file. Right here. You'll say add media file, which takes a few seconds to upload that. Then under the details, your title, subtitle, and the description. This is another opportunity to link back to your YouTube video.
Oh.
So you want everything to talk to each other. So on the YouTube description, it links to the blog post and podcast. The podcast links to the blog and the video. The blog leads to links to the other two.
So smart.
So let me show you something. And after you post it, it's going to give you something called, let me show you. Let me go to content. Oh, the one I did today, actually. Drafts. Oops. Clicked on the wrong thing. Oh, here we go. Bereavement. That's the one I posted today. And I chose bereavement because of the search volume for that word as opposed to loss. So it's like 1 million searches a month. So we'll see how that does. So if we go to edit, I'll show you at the bottom here. After you publish, I don't know if it's going to be at the bottom of this, but well, once you hit publish, it'll give you an option it'll show you the HTML if you want to embed it somewhere. And let me show you. If I go to my blog, I'll show you what I posted this morning. All right, grief and loss. So here's the little thing I made this morning. Click on that. All right, and if you scroll down here, I want you to notice the first thing I did. What's that? That's my YouTube video. It's embedded into the, and then under that, I have my button for my YouTube channel, which is actually the subscribe link. So if they click on that, it's going to prompt them to subscribe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and that's hidden
There's
in
a
YouTube.
subscribe link? Yes. I didn't even know that was such a thing.
So if you go to your subscribe page in the top URL, if you right click that, it'll say subscription-1 or confirmation-1 or something. Okay. That's your subscription link, which takes them to your channel, but it also forces a pop-up to subscribe to your channel.
Ooh, that's valuable.
I learned that one from Pat Flynn. Okay.
Very, very useful.
And this right here under it, that's the podcast that the HTML code. So if you're in WordPress, you're just going to go to custom HTML and drop that in there, and then it'll post that podcast episode right there. So basically what you're teaching your traffic is that, hey, I can watch it or I can listen to it. And you're just trying to introduce them to the two platforms.
But isn't the podcast at the top?
No, this is actually the YouTube video right here. Oh no, this is just
oh, interesting.
Right, yeah, so this is the actual blog post. It's not my page.
This is your blog post, right? Okay.
Right. So what you want to do is when you're creating the blog post, you want to link to your video and the podcast. And that's what I mean by repurposing, because now you have both. And if I click on this, it's going to play that episode. Are you looking to learn more about grief and loss recovery? Well, stick around, because in this episode. So there you see. So then they can just listen to it. I also put my podcast page button right here, which links back to that other page on my site that I just showed you. So they can go and subscribe to whatever platform they're on. It's not like YouTube where it sends them to a single platform, because everybody has a different means. So that's why it's important to have a podcast page that you have buttons to each platform.
Okay, so that leads them to a podcast page on your website where they can go to any of the platforms.
Right.
And it looks like you don't have that much text
on this blog post. I'm going to get to that in just a second. If you have affiliate links, right, associated, this is the same, and I say if you have an affiliate program with Amazon or another company, that's a great opportunity to put in your description for everything, for YouTube, your podcast, your blog page. And
Mhm.
so this is that affiliate link, but you have to have this disclaimer, let people know it's an affiliate link, but you get qualifying commission and so forth. So you don't, the FCC doesn't slap your hand. And then here's like the bio and the website, for the show notes that she gave me. And then more affiliate stuff. And then kit.co is something I learned from Sean Cannel. This is where you can actually list, like I'll just click on that and open that in a new tab so you can see what I'm talking about. Do you use that at all? Kit.co?
No, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's great. So it's just, if you have affiliate links like with Amazon or something, it's another place to keep a clean like library of all of your recommended products.
Very cool. I haven't gotten very into affiliate marketing yet, but
yeah, so it doesn't really take off until you get a lot of traffic, but it's good to kind of set up. So you'll see here I have different kits for, I added this today, books for bereavement, book for trauma, camera and tech, telehealth setup. So this is my workstation, right? As a therapist and YouTube creator, healthy living, and so forth. So books for parenting, personality disorders, trauma survivors. And it's a great way to serve your audience and give them an easy place to find helpful information that you would tell them about anyway. So
yeah,
really what it's about is helping people.
wonderful.
But if you can kind of guide them and give them a list of your recommended stuff, I also have a resource page on my website, but it's easy to have a button like that I can just direct people to.
So you put that in every blog post.
Pretty much at the bottom, yeah.
At the bottom.
I don't like pop-ups. I don't like not being obnoxious. I tried that for a bit and I just didn't. It wasn't my style. I know some people are like, yeah, you get more traffic if you get more signups if you force people exit for where it's the forced pop-up. I don't like that.
You force people.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Doesn't sound very great.
I'm not salesy, so I try to be a little more subtle.
Yeah.
Like this is just like if they want to sign up to I used to have a big old form on my site, but I thought this was more simple. Like if they want to sign up for the newsletter. So anyway, that's how that's what the site looks like when you repurpose, but I want to show you something.
That's another question. So do you send these out to people's emails? Like
yes. So on my email list, I have it set up on an RSS feed through my Mailchimp that's connected to my blog. So anytime I post a new blog, it will automatically send out this blog to my email list. And so and then basically that puts the YouTube video and podcast in their hands every time you post a new one.
Wait, how do you do that automatically? I think I missed that.
I didn't get into that, but if you have a like an email provider,
right,
like Mailchimp, ConvertKit,
yes,
one of those. I use Mailchimp. I'll probably switch at some point.
I have
but
ConvertKit at the moment.
Yeah, I have it set up on an RSS feed, so it's linked to my blog. So anytime I post a new blog, it automatically pushes that at whatever time I specify to my audience.
Wow.
Subscribers. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, you can also set up automation sequences, which is like more of a nurturing thing, but email marketing is a whole other topic.
It truly is.
That costs, you have to, like for a Mailchimp, if you can't use the free program if you want to use automations, but it's only like $10 a month. So I think it's worth it. It's called a nurturing sequence. Get to know you, like you, trust you thing. All right. So this is an example of the blog I did today, but I want to show you an example of the last blog I did when you were asked about the text, right? So rather than writing, so this one was on how to write progress notes. Was the last one I did as a therapist. So a couple last tricks I want to show you is rather than writing a long old blog post, you can actually just post the transcript of your video and then clean it up. Like this was just a wall of text I cleaned up, but it saved me hours and hours of writing a blog post. So, and then you always want to reference your prior, if it's a sequence, like your prior episodes, link back for SEO. But all this, I didn't type this. I didn't type any of this, really, most of it. I just, I transcribed the audio. Remember that initial audio I exported? I transcribed that to text. Now, normally that costs money through like rev.com. It's like $5 a minute.
Yes, I've used Rev.
I haven't. And the reason for that is I found a workaround. Do you want me to share that with you?
Please.
Okay. All right. So on Microsoft Online, when it wants to be nice and actually work, it only works on the online version. So this is like $7 a month for this feature, but that's cheaper than like $1 a minute of transcribing.
Yes.
Okay. So when it wants to behave, let's say you go to a new document like here. And this is my recent secret sauce right here. This is it's good for SEO. All right, so we're just kind of waiting for this to load up. My computer's in pain. All right, there we go. I can't wait for that new MacBook. Can't get here soon enough. Holding out. Okay, you see this right here where it says dictate?
Yes.
Okay, that's not new, but if you click on this on the online version, see this button called transcribe?
Yes.
That's the magic right there.
Mm.
That's a relatively new feature. See this upload audio button?
Hold on, I'm writing it out.
Yeah, this is like magic right here.
Okay, I'm back. Yes,
This is gonna like destroy companies like Rev. Okay, so upload audio, and then it'll ask. You can actually drop a video or an MP3 in here. If the video is too long, though, it won't work. But you can take that MP3 that you exported in your editing program and drop that right in here. And when it wants to work, it might take a few tries. It'll actually list out if there's more, like we're talking right now. It will distinguish the speakers. So it'll say speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 1. It'll add timestamps to everything. So if you want the timestamps, you can include that, or you can ask it to only put the transcript without the timestamps in the document or without the speakers or whatever. And so then you can take that and copy and paste that into your blog, and that becomes the transcript. Or if you want to make it nice and pretty, you can make it like a formal blog post.
How long? It doesn't get rid of the like uhs and.
No, but that's easy to clean up if you want to. What I do, my little trick is if you're in, like, let's say you download this to your desktop Word, or you do it in here, hit Control F, find, and then type
Right.
and then you can actually go to replace all with, and then you just delete.
Yeah.
And then I just go through, and then I'll just take, because here's how I save time with that. You know, when you're going through your video and you're writing down all of your timestamps, I take those timestamps, I compare that to the timestamps it gives me on here, and then I turn those into headers. And then that cleans up the blog post quite a bit. And then I just go through and I make the sentences a little prettier. And it doesn't take nearly as long as it does to type a blog post, especially at that length. You're going to have a whole lot more length than if you had just typed the highlights, right?
Yeah. So how much time do you put into one of these episodes on average, would you estimate, with the blog? And
if I were to go start to finish, it would take about 6 hours.
6 hours.
Give or take. Usually I do it over the course of the week between my kids or in the evening after they're in bed and I'm sitting on the couch with the wife. And like this morning, I was up late last night because I had a deadline this morning to push this recent one out. But depends on how, I mean, you can spend a lot of time being really particular, or you can, like Sean says, you know, done is better than perfect. So you can always, here's the thing about blog posts, you can always go back and clean them up anytime you want. So it's good for SEO too, to go back and you know, clean it up a bit later on if you want to, but focus on the big picture. At least that's my stance. Okay, one last trick. You want another little? Okay. So download this to, you know, save as, download it to your computer, and then I want to share with you. Let's see where I'm at on my list here. Oh, we didn't get to that yet. But okay, so you know closed captions, right? Closed captions on your YouTube videos. YouTube will do that automatically, right? But it's not great. And they don't actually index the closed captions because it's not a very accurate system.
Mhm.
So what you do is if you put in your own closed captions, it'll actually, this is what the research says that I've read, is it will increase your reach by 8%.
Wow.
Right, because you have a whole different audience. And if it's more, it's just YouTube starts indexing it, and plus it reads the text. And so it becomes another form of SEO juice, right?
You mean YouTube reads the text?
Right, because you upload the
Mm.
text file into your video. And this is a recent discovery of mine. There's a lot of companies that will charge you to do this for you, to create a closed caption file. But if you take that, I'm going to show you something. So you see my desktop here, right? You see this document? And you see this document? They're the same, except this one is a text file. So if, let me open this. This is one of the videos I did, right? How to write therapy progress notes, I believe. All right. So you see this. This is what the Word transcribed for me, right? And I cleaned it up on Word before I dropped it in there, right? But then what I did is I went to save as, up here, whatever, file, save as, Word doc, and change it to plain text. See that .txt file?
Yes.
Okay, here's the beauty. Let me close this. When you change it to plain text, it looks like this. Let me show it to you. Looks ugly, right?
It does.
But this is the language of closed captions.
Okay.
So then if you take this file and you drop that back into YouTube, let's go to YouTube. This is my back end of YouTube. Like I said, 87 subscribers. Hope you guys subscribe. It'll grow.
I will.
Thank you. So if you go to your video, I guess I have to go to my studio. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm in my studio. Duh. All right. Okay, let's just edit a video here. Dashboard. Oh, content. You ever stare at stuff so long you kind of get lost with your. You're so okay.
Oh, I always get lost in the
Oh,
YouTube navigation
me.
system. I don't know how it happens. So
Okay.
I've done it so many times. It's just for some
Right.
reason not that intuitive how they have it laid out.
Huh. So I didn't do the closed captions on this one yet because Word wasn't playing nice with me this morning. I just wanted to get it out there. But I will go back and add the closed captions. But the way you do that, so I go to details, right, to edit the video. And if you jump on down, there will be an option for subtitles. Oop, where'd it go?
And do you just copy and paste your blog transcription here?
Well, not the blog one, but the TXT file.
Okay.
So when you go to subtitles, and it's not very intuitive because I don't actually think it's on this tab first. I think you have to go into the back to the details, but it's thinking. Hold on. Okay, so if you click on that, you see this one that's already there. That's YouTube's subtitles that they already put in.
Okay.
But if you go back to details, you scroll down. It's very covert here. It's not very obvious. So you scroll down. Scroll down. Where's it hiding? And tags are a whole other thing. I'll talk about that. But all right, right here. You see this right here? Upload subtitles, closed captions.
Yes.
This is where you're going to drop that TXT file.
Okay.
And the reason you don't need the timestamps is because YouTube has already timestamped it for you in their version. So when you upload your TXT file, all you have to do is just duplicate the timestamps, and you're gravy. It'll fix it for you.
Duplicate the timestamps. I don't quite understand.
So
by that.
After you drop your text file in here and you go back to subtitles, it's going to ask you for it'll say publisher or the one YouTube did. You click on the publisher one and then you click publish. It's going to have a pop-up where it says publish. It's already going to insert the timestamps for you. It'll ask you, do you want to insert your own timestamps or do you want to use YouTube's timestamps? Use YouTube's because it's already indexed their version for you, but when you put in
Great.
yours, it'll just match the timestamps. It may not be exact, but it's pretty close.
We're very close. That
Close
sounds
enough.
fantastic.
And the main reason you want to do this, even if it's not perfect, is for SEO, right?
And how does it look? I'm kind of an aesthetic
I know, right?
person.
Well, let's take a look. I haven't looked at my last one. It might be a mess. Let's find out. All right, so I'll take this one, which I did. All right, so I'll just click on this.
Have you noticed video views increasing with using it?
I have actually in the last couple. So I think it'll show you a preview when you're doing it. Let me see. I could just play the video. All right, this is the screen I was telling about. See where it says published by creator?
Right.
And it's published by creator. I already did that. So you can add more, but this was the one YouTube did. And let's see, published and title and description. Oh yeah, looks like I did it twice. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on that, which is weird. It's not highlighted to click on. But okay. Let's see. When you're first putting it in there, it gives you an option before you publish it to review it. I'm sure we can get back in there, but if you want to take a look, I can just play the video and see.
Yeah, it'd be great just to get like a little clip.
Yeah, it'd be good for me too, because I actually didn't proof it. So it's always have a list of things I want to get back to. All right, let's go back to the channel content. All right, video on YouTube. Let's take a look. It might be a little laggy just because my computer is in pain right now. Multitasking everything. All right. Where is it? There it is, closed captions. Let's go ahead and turn that on. Let's see what it looks like.
Hi, welcome back to the Toolbox video podcast. My name is Patrick Martin.
Let me let it buffer for a second. Okay.
Hi, welcome back to the Toolbox video podcast. My name is Patrick Martin, and in this episode, I'm going to show you how to write therapy, progress.
That's not bad. It's a little laggy because my computer is hurting, but
maybe I'll go watch when on my own time.
Yeah.
But that is a very good tip to know.
Welcome back, and if you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Patrick Martin, and I'm passionate about teaching people how to level up.
Seems to be on point with the audio.
I like that too, how you have all your social media links.
Oh yeah, that's I brought a program in for a plugin for Final Cut Pro through Motion VFX for YouTube. It was like $70. It was a good investment.
Motion
VFX.
It's
called YouTuber 2, I think was the package.
Okay. Great.
All right, so let's see what's left on the workflow there. So if you are familiar with vidIQ, you know that's a great way to kind of do some tag research for your videos. Do you use vidIQ at all?
I've done it a little bit, but I'm a behind video ranking academy student. I'm still learning how to do all this.
No worries. So vidIQ will suggest tags for you if you are in your YouTube studio.
And do you make different tags each?
Yes. You can also steal tags from other people on YouTube. So there's a little paperclip if you're searching on YouTube. If you find like the highest ranking videos, you can click on the paperclip button to copy them and then paste them into your tags and then delete the ones that are underperforming or irrelevant.
Cool.
Yeah.
And your channel in general has its own list of tags, right? And then you put in like more.
Actually, no, I do original tags for each video.
Okay.
I have the description is pretty much similar in each video, unless I'm doing like an interview and I do like a bio here. But the tags are
see.
unique. See these tags? Since my keyword was bereavement.
I'm amazed you do all this in 6 hours.
Give or take. Sometimes it's longer. Depends.
That just seems like so many steps.
I know, but this makes it easy. So like if I click on bereavement, well, look, I'm ranking for 13 already on this one. Yay.
Wow.
All right. So if there's a one you want to lean in on.
So it shows you where you're ranking on the tags.
Yes, which is cool, right?
That is very cool.
So if I click on that, you can always change them too. It's gonna, you click on one term, one word.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you know that's the, and it'll tell you what the search volume is on each tag, each word. So for example, like basically you want anything like, I aim for 50 and up on the overall score because it's competition to search volume. See, low competition, high search volume. It's over 50. And then you just go through and you check the ones that you want to include. And then you exit and it just drops them in there for you. This would normally take like an hour of research, but vidIQ makes it easy. It takes like 10 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. And then down here, it'll offer more for you and it'll tell you what the ranking is.
So you did that by, you knew bereavement was the keyword you wanted to use.
Because in the
You've already
keyword
done research, you just look that up, and then from that one word, you can find the other tags.
Right. So you use the tools that Sean Cannel teaches us to use for the keyword research. And because we did Video Ranking Academy, we're kind of privileged to that. And then once you have your keyword, then you can use that to kind of dictate your tags.
Well, I need to get back and view those lessons.
Yeah.
Very handy.
I don't know that it goes into depth as much with vidIQ as he does with the keyword research, but that's how you apply it.
Great.
Okay, let's see what's left. So we did the tags, that's there. Oh yeah, I said hint, hint. If you're gonna copy your description out of like Google Keep Notes or another place, and if it looks jumbled when you because it probably will look jumbled if you paste it into your description in Libsyn or something like that, you can copy and right click and do special paste on Word, and it will remove the formatting if you have any issues with like if it's bunched together and it's not in separate lines or spaces how you had it on here like this. If I posted this into Libsyn, it would all be jumbled. But if I copy and paste it onto Word as special paste, remove the formatting, then it'll look just like this. And then I would copy and paste that into Libsyn.
I see. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, the description, if you have any affiliate links, be sure to drop those in there. Closed captions are said to add 8% to your reach. Talked about that. And then we talked about the blog, right?
Yes.
You can use different thumbnails, or I'm lazy. I usually use the same thumbnail.
I can understand.
It's redundant, but it's okay.
I mean, this is a lot of time to do all these things.
Exactly. And then I use, like I said, Word for the blog text. I embed the video and the podcast. And here's the thing: you want to publish them all at once, so they see each other. If you have your YouTube video, you can post it before, but you don't want to post your blog before your YouTube, because otherwise your YouTube video won't be viewable on the blog. So you want to. So I try and do it simultaneously. I'll like post the podcast first, and then the YouTube video, and then the blog. But I'll have it all ready to go at once.
Okay.
But on the RSS feed, the audience on the mail service, like they don't get it until the next morning, so I don't trip on that so much.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all of my talking points here. I'll go ahead and stop the share. There you have it. Another walkthrough. I hope this was helpful. If you find it helpful, please let us know in the comments below. And if there's anything you would like us to speak to directly, or me, or if you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks. Till next time, keep thriving.